Any business employing 5 or more people has today been hammered. And I make the point that I've set up companies and run companies. Nobody on the front bench has ever worked in private business. Nobody on the front bench understands what genuine risk capital is. Our business secretary, from what I can make out, has never even had a job. But the most dismal part, no, I've had plenty of jobs. Well, apart from being in the European Parliament, which doesn't really count, obviously. But I got to tell you, what is dismal about this budget is the growth forecast. If the ambition of our Chancellor is that in 4 years' time, growth should be 1.5%, that is very, very bad news for everybody, and particularly because it takes no account of the rise in population that will happen through legal immigration. It basically means a rise of 0. And nobody's even mentioned today the fact that gross domestic product per capita, wealth per capita, has been falling consistently nearly every single quarter for the last 2 years. The bigger our population becomes, the poorer we are becoming. And that's a reality we've got to wake up to. But I would say this.
Well, that's Nigel Farage.
In a fiery PMQs exchange, Nigel Farage took aim at Keir Starmer and Labour's business secretary, lambasting them for lacking real-world experience. Labour's business secretary has never held a job outside politics. He charged, casting Labour as an insulated elite, out of touch with workers and business owners. Farage's rallying cry for practical experience over political polish was clear. Britain needs leaders with real-world grit, not career politicians. Farage frequently draws a stark contrast between his political rivals and the real-world people he claims they fail to represent. He frames politicians without direct experience in private industry as fundamentally out of touch, suggesting they lack the practical understanding needed to address challenges facing businesses and workers. This approach positions Farage and his party as relatable champions for ordinary people, especially those in the workforce. By spotlighting the Labour business secretary's background, or perceived lack thereof, Farage questions their competence to lead in areas requiring a hands-on grasp of business dynamics. This critique resonates with those who believe that policies should be shaped by leaders who have lived and worked through the issues they seek to solve. Farage's critique goes beyond one individual, tapping into a broader narrative he often leverages against Labour. He paints the party as led by career politicians and academics who may have strong theories but little grounding in practical realities like business or manufacturing. This reinforces a populist message that traditional elites are detached from average citizens' lives and that effective power should rest with those who have truly walked in the shoes of the electorate. In spotlighting these divides, Farage and Reform UK appeal directly to voters disillusioned with career politics, reinforcing their image as practical, common-sense outsiders who bring a grounded perspective to governance. The Bilston North by-election in Wolverhampton marks a seismic shift in UK politics, with Reform UK flipping a previously rock-solid Labour council seat with a staggering 36's swing. This dramatic result is a clear signal. Reform UK's appeal is taking root in areas long dominated by Labour, with voters showing their willingness to explore alternatives. Reform UK's 34.8 win signals more than just a one-off victory. It's a call from disillusioned Labour voters who feel left behind by Keir Starmer's leadership and the party's current direction. With Labour hemorrhaging 30-80 of its votes, the loss of this safe seat hints at waning loyalty among core supporters, reflecting dissatisfaction with both national and local party handling of key issues. Meanwhile, the Green Party's impressive 11.4 gain, bringing it to 23.4, underscores its growing resonance with voters looking for change, particularly on environmental issues and progressive policy stances. The Greens are capturing an important slice of the electorate that feels Labour no longer aligns with their priorities. The Conservatives, seeing an 11.2 drop, finished with just 13.7 of the vote, a clear indicator that their footing in Wolverhampton is weakening. This dip could reflect alienation from Conservative policies and leadership, pushing traditional Tory supporters toward Reform UK and other emerging parties. The Liberal Democrats, although gaining just 2.9, reflect a rising openness to alternative voices, adding to the shifting dynamics of the electorate. With voter turnout just under 19.2, the election also points to a possible voter disengagement, likely due to dissatisfaction with established parties. Such low turnout allows smaller parties with motivated bases to make waves, as evidenced by Reform UK's stunning win. This win for Reform UK in a Labour stronghold hints at more profound challenges ahead for Labour. If these results are a harbinger of future elections, Reform's rise may compel Labour to rethink its strategies in its traditional heartlands. This by-election doesn't just shake up local politics, it signals an evolving landscape, with old loyalties fading and voter appetite for alternatives growing stronger.
In spending by the end of this Parliament, £41 billion in tax rises. I have done a number of budgets, and this scorecard, in terms, I have never seen anything like it, and I've done this for 15 years. It's the biggest budget I have ever covered. It is incredibly definitive in terms of a kind of very Labour budget of big tax and big spend. But I think the issue here is, while Rachel Reeves talked there about choices, Rishi Sunak gave the counter-argument, which I think will now be chewed over ferociously, actually, which is this was not laid out in the manifesto. This is not what the Labour government implied. When I asked the Prime Minister at our leaders' debate in Grimsby, are there any tax rises beyond this?
Beth Rigby's shock over Labour's budget has laid bare a growing storm around transparency, trust, and accountability in UK politics. Labour's newly revealed plans, £74 billion in extra spending alongside £41 billion in extra spending alongside £41 billion in tax hikes, present a seismic shift from their manifesto promises. As Rigby noted, this is unprecedented, with tax hikes not seen since 1993, including a major rise in employer national insurance. Critics argue these measures could hit businesses hard, stifling economic growth at a time when stability is desperately needed post-Brexit. The absence of these commitments in Labour's election pitch has led to accusations of dishonesty, and with good reason. Voters expect manifestos to serve as guiding contracts. For many, a radical departure from those promises on core issues, like taxation, signals a fundamental breach of trust. Calls for greater accountability and clearer communication are growing louder as voters feel blindsided by these unanticipated fiscal moves. Labour's critics are seizing this moment to double down on a familiar refrain: the left cannot be trusted. Rigby's blunt assessment has only fueled skepticism, with concerns that Labour's approach will alienate moderate supporters while bolstering opposition among those wary of sweeping tax and spend policies. This budget blunder risks reshaping Labour's image in ways they may struggle to recover from. But the implications go beyond Labour. As manifestos increasingly diverge from policy execution, a broader erosion of public trust looms. Voters' disillusionment with traditional politics is deepening, and parties seen as accountable outsiders may benefit as citizens grow tired of establishment bait and switch tactics.
No one's ever compared me to Jeremy Corbyn before. I stood down from his shadow cabinet because I disagreed with everything that he was doing.
Rachel Reeves's recent claim of having served in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet doesn't align with the facts. When Corbyn took the reins in 2015, he assembled a shadow cabinet without Reeves, whose known criticism of his leadership likely kept her on the sidelines. Now, critics are calling this statement an embellishment at best, casting doubt on her reliability. For Reeves, currently in the spotlight as Chancellor, it's a misstep that raises questions about honesty, a trait crucial in high-stakes political roles. Adding fuel to the fire, Reeves's book The Women Who Made Modern Economics came under scrutiny in October 2020. 3. For containing material lifted from sources like The Guardian and Wikipedia without attribution. Although she has acknowledged the oversight and promised to address it, the incident stirs ethical concerns. Plagiarism in published work hints at a lack of diligence and tarnishes the image of a leader expected to uphold standards. In Reeves's case, this raises broader questions about her attention to detail and adherence to basic ethical principles, an unfortunate liability for a high-profile figure. But the impact of these controversies doesn't stop with Reeves, it ripples through Labour. With her prominent position as Chancellor, any questions around her integrity inevitably impact Labour's brand, especially as the party pitches itself as the reliable alternative. In a political climate where voters are increasingly skeptical, a single misstep can magnify disillusionment. For Labour, trust is hard-earned, and when lapses, be they factual or ethical, arise, maintaining that trust only becomes more challenging. For Labour, the lesson is clear. Bridging the gap between political narrative and reality is critical, especially as they court a disenchanted electorate seeking authenticity and accountability. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join our free Telegram group linked in the description where we can discuss important issues freely and without censorship, and support each other. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider becoming a channel member for exclusive content. See you next time!